Alright guys, this is quite a meaty topic and I got some notes, so we're going to try, let me see if I'm close enough so you can hear, and compare the two. So this video is narcissist, psychopath and energy vampire on drugs versus empath on drugs. So I think I explained in my last video, anything that takes you away from yourself or the present space is not good, or in other words we can call it demonic. Now when I talk about presence, my understanding and what I'm mainly talking about is taken from Eckhart Tolle, and his teachings is basically talking about how we are the observer. So obviously we have our body, we have our ego, we have all these labels and our experiences that we identify with. But what he's teaching, the powers now, is that we try to go above that, transcend those things, and realize that we're actually soul. We are the observer of all things, and as humans, if you go up one level, we're actually all connected on a kind of universal consciousness or sacred self or God consciousness. There's so many ways of describing it by so many different teachers and yogis. So that being said, drugs or anything like that, any sort of substances, they take us away from who we are. And usually what's already there is its purest form. So if you're present right now and you're in your breath, you are in that place. You're not in the future. You're not in the past. You're not a label. You're not any kind of thing you can describe with words. You're just present in that space, in that time. When you look at life that way, you can let go of any kind of emotion that you're having at the time. You can kind of not identify with it and realize that most emotions, or if not all of them, are fleeting. They're kind of just moving their way through, and it's our job to not try to hold on to them. They're kind of like clouds. I've heard that somewhere before, somewhere. They're clouds, they're just passing, so you just let them pass. You don't try and hold on to them, you just let them go. So I've got notes here. So with drugs, and this is the same with anything, so that's smoking, it's like weed. There's a difference in terms of how you use them and why you use them. And in my experience, I found that narcissists and empaths use drugs. So that's the opposite ends. Also, you can have normals that use drugs, but it's not used to cover an infliction. So what I mean by that is if you work a normal 9-to-5, or you're a teacher, or you executive white collar or blue collar worker, and once every so often you go to a festival in a big park and you take a pill or speed or MDMA or whatever you do, and it ends there, you have this dance and you have a nice time and it ends. But what I find is that with narcissists, it's very, very moreish to them. Like they just need more and more and more. And empaths too. But the difference I would say is that narcissists are very addictive personalities. So they tend to use something, and I've got it written here, they use it in a means to escape from their chaotic minds, right? So narcissists will be a lot of the people that you see outside on the street that are addicted to this crack, or in America they got fentanyl, which is a new drug coming now. That's a possession. So it's actually you're feeding a spirit which is wanting you to go down that path. And you can also turn away from that spirit and not feed into this infliction you have. I like to describe it as a carnal infliction. So you have like a wound and you're using your body to try to cover that wound, that childhood trauma like we keep speaking about. Now, with empaths, they're more obsessive with drugs. They don't tend to always be addicted, but you can get them addicted. But they're more obsessive, and what it is there's a pain there, and there is no judgment when I make these videos because I was there and I could relapse, because we all are, you know, trying to do better and sort of live life and improve. But alcohol would be one of those too. It's like you can have one drink or two drinks, even three, but then stop. But I find a lot of the narcissists that I used to be around, they didn't get drunk actually. A lot of them would just drink through the whole night, through the whole day. Then it'll be 2 days later after the party and they're still in a room gossiping, drinking, taking illicit substances. Empaths, not all, but a lot of us, we can't handle our drink. After like 4 drinks, we're drunk and we're up on the table doing something silly or hidden away doing something silly. We really can't handle substances or alcohol very well. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's a spiritual thing. It's just in my experience. There are some that go against that, but generally we're not designed really to do that to ourselves. So what it is with narcissists is these drugs, they feed into their fuel that they use. So it's like the substances is like fuel. They can do it and it's like they're not accountable, and it's like they're entitled to it. Like there's been situations that I was in where I was at certain house parties and I was taking part in what was going on in that situation. And I used to work at a certain level, so I was afforded connections and drinks and those things. And if I was to step out of the place and I would leave my bag or wallet there, somebody who would be narcissistic 100% would go in there, remove some and then put it back and think you won't know. They're very they don't believe any rules exist. They don't believe in any common boundaries with people. They always step over the lines just to feed this insatiable kind of need for fuel and to cover their wounds, these childhood trauma wounds. Okay, if you are in a situation where you're in a place and there's drug taking going on, so the ritual of taking drugs is happening, what is going on is a lot of dark energy is being created. It's the same as with sex. It can even be happening at the same time. So if you're taking drugs and you're having relations with them, there's a lot of dark energy being created, being conjured up, and it's very, very pungent. It's funny because sometimes when you're on this healing path, healing journey, you always asking yourself, are you the narcissist? I'll just quickly interject and say, if you can find someone that can say when they left you, they were at a rock bottom and they had to rebuild XYZ, job, house, resources, job, house, friend group, reputation, health, physical health, mental health, spiritual health, sexual health, because narcissists tend to get lots of STDs. If you did any of those things, then you are. But chances are, if you're asking that question, you're not. Your empathy makes you question yourself, self-reflection, I did mistakes, because we are human. You're am I the person that's in the wrong? But usually it's you that is just reflecting them. So you sometimes behave a bit like them. But your reason would tend to usually be from the pain, from that childhood trauma. A lot of it's because of that bad bond with yourself and parent, you tend to have a negative self-image. They also have a negative self-image, but they cover it with a mask. So the mask is they've chosen to be pretend of like they're always happy, but what it is like they're actually really insecure. We're insecure. We can be attached to that trauma, but as we get older and we awaken, we're able to start addressing it. So it's like that child hasn't been given that healthy, secure upbringing, you can actually focus on that and give it to yourself as you become older. So you start self-validating yourself. You start to realize what triggered you, and you can start saying, okay, it wasn't your fault. You don't need to take on the burden on other people. You don't have to fix other people. You can put all that empathy and love into yourself. And also you can actually use it sometimes as a power because you're very intuitive, but you can also learn to tune it down a bit. So it's like you could be in a big room of people, a big room. And in that big room of people, you get on with everyone. You're like, oh, hey, hi. And one person in the corner of that room is sending you negative vibes. And as an empath, your brain just goes, whoop. You just pick up on it. You can start saying, that's them, not me. They're like having that, I don't know why. They could have had a bad lunch or fell over and they've got a bad back or whatever. And they're sending you that vibe, but you can just say, not my problem, that's theirs, and just switch them off. And you have to learn to do that because of that childhood sensitivity of your parents, of how you had to be so ready and on edge because of your parents changing moods. You've actually been set up, you've been programmed to be like that. So you have to actually change that program. Like take that record out, scratch it, break it, throw it on the floor, stamp on it, scratch it, throw paint on it, get rid of it. Okay. So another thing, comparison. So narcs will continuously smoke weed or cigarettes or use substances because they're in a loop. It's a kind of a loop. It's like an ongoing Moorish loop, and they're stuck in this loop. Yeah. So that's one of the things. And what you find is that you get a whole group of people, from my experience as well, is like they're propping each other up. The ego, they're all propping each other. They're addicted, but it's like, it's okay. You're addicted too. I'm addicted. You're addicted. We're addicted together, and it's all right. Yeah. So that's one of the big thing. A lot of baby mamas and baby daddies, you know, that they have these kind of sessions. They call it sessions. So they will have like, they'll stay up taking drugs and then doing their relations, and then like 3 months later they've got someone pregnant, and it's just like, what happened? They don't want to take any responsibility for their action. In fact, they like that because the baby ties them into this person so they can get supply for 18 years. So they want to have all these different baby. If you find someone in your town who hasn't got a girlfriend with these, it's not in a relationship, but they have all these babies scattered around, chances are it's a narcissist. So another thing I've got here is, I know I may have more points with them, but it's just happened that way. They like to induce confusion. So with this drug taking, your chemical balance will change. So your personality will change. So like alcohol, for instance, you may become really like low, because obviously that's the fastest way to lower your vibration, to drink and to smoke. So you now may become sluggish or sloppy, and at that point, they use that as an opportunity to now show their dominance and their power over you. Because a lot of them have been, maybe it's because they start earlier as well. A lot of narcissists start using drugs really early. So their tolerance tends to be very high, like they can drink. I remember I was on holiday with, I think there was a couple of narcissists, and the girl I was dating, there was a relationship too. She was a narcissist, and I got quite drunk one night, so after a restaurant, so I went home and or went back to the hotel, and the next day I woke up, she was in the bed next to me, fully clothed, and we were in a very hot country, like her country. And when I woke up, she jumped up and she started projecting this, oh, you locked the door, to confuse me. And we started getting into a row. And I think I can't remember. I remember breaking down. But the fact she was fully clothed, it was like, I found that very suspicious. And then we went for breakfast. I don't know why we had to wake the couple up, but when I woke the couple up, they were not clothed at all. And it was just very suspicious. She was fully clothed and sunglasses, and she was acting very shady. And then the couple, when they came up, the guy that was with them, he was like very like giddy, laughing and saying something like, oh, the adults stayed up and had fun. And it was just very, very suspect. So they tend to they like to have like create an air of like confusion, like, oh, did something happen? Did it not? To like have you always on this like hamster wheel of like worry and fear. They love that because obviously that fear gives them supply. So it's my advice, if you're with any of these people, get away from these people. Seriously, like it's a waste of like time, like lifetime. Like you could be using that time actually building something with another empath, with someone that can actually love you and they're not trying to manipulate you, treat you bad for no reason. So what I've got on the empath side is it can be sometimes used as to endure time or to waste time. I know that's kind of linked to the pain thing, because when you're empath and you go through life and you're constantly devalued, constantly put down, judged, mocked, reputational destroyed, you kind of need to, sometimes it's like you're self-medicating. So you have some empaths that do that to self-medicate, take drugs, drink, smoke, vape, just to like, again, it's still linked to that pain thing. So you're self-medicating. And I've got another one here is to meet, sometimes because it lowers your vibration, empaths want to join in to meet people at that level. So it's, if you find that when you're not around these people, you're very disciplined, you don't get into any of these behaviors, but when you're with them, you have a certain pull to want to do those things. That should be your answer. Yes, you take blame. Yes, you take accountability, but also, you know, you are like the sum of the 5 people you hang around with. Like if you're the 6th person, you're with 5 people who are constantly smoking weed, you're going to end up smoking weed as well. So it's, you want to be a part of the clique, the peer pressure. You want to be in with the gang. Empaths are like that. Narcissists sometimes can be very much, they know that this is what they do. You know, they're very much aware of like their mindset of their chaotic minds and constantly running away, fuel, lack of accountability, you know, position of power, projection, stealing, you know, they're constantly vandalizing people's stuff, objectification, showing I'm the man or I'm the woman or whatever it is. There's a story at the moment with Russell Brand, and yeah, he for what I've read so far, he looks like he's definitely on their side, on their team. He's definitely a narcissistic psychopath. The stuff that he did, kind of not taking the blame, but more like the behaviors of kind of egotistical, kind of stepping over boundaries, chameleon, kind of changing from TV presenter, stand up, to now he's this they say internet guru, blah blah. It's just all very like fuel, like cake, let me eat more cake. So I think we're going to leave this one here. Yeah, just keep going on your healing journey. If I can link any other videos here, I will do, just to help you on your path. Try and stay healthy, get in the gym, be physical, get some exercise, get into nature, take some deep breaths, and yeah, just keep going on your path, and hopefully I'll meet you at the top of the rainbow.